kick in. Let's do the weather. We're British. We've got to talk about the weather. Where I am in Bury St Edmunds, it's very autumnal. Whereabouts are you guys based, please?
Hi, Max. We're based just outside Oxford, and it's got a nice day outside, actually. We're not doing badly for autumn, are we?
It was very misty on the train here.
Was it?
It was beautiful, yeah.
I'm very excited. I'm in a couple of weeks. I'm going off to the IFPA, the International Fresh Produce Association Global Produce and Floral Show in Orlando, to do a set of live interviews out there. So I'm going to be the middle-aged, tubby Hugh Grant looking like with a camera, trying to get some live interviews. Gentlemen, as the social media feeds go live, do you want to just introduce yourself? Sumanta, you go first, please.
Thanks, Max. So I'm Sumanta. I'm the founder and CEO of Gardin, and this is my good friend and colleague Fabrizio. Fabrizio.
Nice to meet you all. I'm Fabrizio. I lead biology here at Gardin.
Excellent. And if you're not aware of this business, this is a business to watch, and the reason you need to watch it is the following. I recently was speaking to a client who runs a significant vertical farming business, and he came up with this greater analogy. There's so much buzz, gents, as you know, within the sector about vertical farming, about protected cropping, how it's going to feed not only the UK, Europe, and the world, but there are issues, and sometimes those issues aren't talked about. And this individual gave this great example that within protected cropping, so within a large glasshouse, that there's a number of variables, whether it be the actual physical growing of the crop, whether it be the water, whether it be the substrate that you use, and you've got to keep on top of it. And he said it's like driving a big lorry, a juggernaut, down the road, and if something goes slightly wrong, say you got an issue with the water, you can quickly identify it. The juggernaut slightly comes off the road, but you can then pull it back in. You can correct the problem because you're on top of the game. But Max, as he said, within vertical farming, it's completely different. There are so many variables that things happen so quickly that you can have an absolute disaster. Max, it's like driving a Ferrari at night down a country lane with a blindfold on at full speed. You're going to crash. And what we need, Max, is some form of technology to really help us to get on top of these issues, so that we can second guess any problems. And there's an example that we recently know of a vertical farming operation that had to clear a whole unit and decontaminate it because they didn't get on top of a problem before it got too far. So why we're really keen to bring Gardin on is because of their technology that they've invented, because it is a complete game changer. And we wanted you all to find out about Gardin, about their journey, about where they are today, and about where they're going in the future. Gentlemen, have I summarized that initially in a good way before we find out more about you?
I think that was really good, wasn't it?
That was perfect, yeah.
And that's a good, I quite like that analogy, the vertical farm analogy. We're going to use that, Max, if you don't mind.
No problem. But is this why you came up with the idea as the founder, as the CEO? Did you identify this, that there's this term within fresh produce, that there's so much profitability held up within the supply chain, so much waste, and not only with the consumer, but in the whole system, as well as the grain element? Was that why you created the business?
Absolutely right. Yes, and that's really important. Actually, that's a really important point, which is that, you know, what you said, there's value that's trapped. So this is value that can be unlocked, right? So it's there. You know, it's not sort of value that didn't exist. It exists, but the means of unlocking that value has not been there. And quite simply, you know, the way this all started was that, and on a very simple level, right? In every industry I've been involved in the past, you know, so I've been involved in a bunch of different industries, from consumer tech, medical tech, whatever. There's always been this like really, really sort of almost maniacal focus on measuring the product. I'm doing it really well, right? But that it starts with knowing what to measure, because if you measure the wrong things, or if you measure too much, you know, that to be useful to anyone, that could actually be detrimental. So in this industry, I came across, okay, well, what's the product, right? Well, the product is it's either a plant or it's something that a plant produces, right? And I went looking into the industry and I thought, well, you're measuring everything but the product. You're measuring the air, the water, the soil, the temperature, yeah, literally everything but the product. And I thought, well, that sounds a little bit strange. And then, you know, we did a bunch of work a few years ago, and the end result of that was, oh, right, okay, if you can measure the product really well, then all the controls that you might or might not have, you know, like measuring everything else, you could actually use them more effectively. So that's what we're doing.
Yeah, and it's, I think it's it is a big issue within the sector of agriculture, horticulture and fresh produce. Within agriculture, it's well known that a lot of dairy farmers don't have any form of fixed budgeting. They don't know where they're tracking on a financial basis. Likewise, arable farmers, a lot of arable farmers still don't have a set database system to know how their business is running, whether that be on a real-time basis or even on a weekly basis. And it gets even more complex, as per our Ferrari example, that on a vertical farming perspective or a protected cropping perspective, there's so much money, and even going into it, and even more so with this rise of input costs. If there was this magic solution, that's too emotive. If there was a realistic, logical solution to create better efficiencies within growing, especially as margins have been squeezed and energy rates are going up, it's just a no-brainer, isn't it? We need to drive this change. We need your technology. But gents, have you created this technology? Are you there? Fabrizio, tell us.
Yes, so we have our first product actually deployed with a few clients here in the UK, doing trial work in Europe, with breeders in the Netherlands. The idea behind it is very simple. As Sumanta was saying, a lot of the measurement is on the environment and not the product. And the measurement that goes on the product is often visual, looking at symptomatology, when it often is too late to correct the course, like you said before. So what we've done is developed an optical sensor that measures how the physiology of the plant is performing in real time, wow, giving really early warning to the grower when things are going wrong. And that is incredibly powerful, because then you can understand what the problems are early enough that you can take a corrective action, right?
Yeah, but and we're going to keep on referring back to our Ferrari example, aren't we? So to stop that issue, and if anything, create that positive, so that you then know where you're going. You had recently, it was brilliant that you managed to get a slot on the BBC, and I love this quote, that it was said that Gardin talk to plants and they tell us how happy they are. so Sumanta, can you just elaborate on that, please?
Absolutely. So firstly, is because of amazing people like Fabrizio, who actually are real world experts in plant science, that we can do things like this, and with the rest of our colleagues. So let me tell a little bit about what the product is, and then how it tells, how it talks to the plants, or actually listens to the plants, right? Yeah. The product is, we're a full stack company, and what that basically means is we make hardware and software. The hardware is an optical sensor, that Fab said, and that optical sensor measures the physiology of the plants, and specifically chlorophyll fluorescence, amongst other things, right? So what that means is, and then that sensor then plugs into a cloud network, and then we have machine learning models that take all that really complicated data and turn it into useful English. Because ultimately that's what we want, useful English. The sensor is, as Fab already said, it's an optical sensor, it's remote, which means it can take measurements from a long distance away. We've got sensors installed in greenhouses, which obviously means they can take measurements in bright daylight. I can do it really, really, really fast, right? So what they're doing is they're measuring the physiology of the plants. So what it means is that when the plants get stressed about anything, it could be good stress or it could be bad stress. Yep. The first place you pick it up is in the change in the physiology of the plants. So, and our sensors are literally listening to optically what the stress signals are. So when a plant gets stressed because of any particular reason, and like I said, it could be a bad reason, like drought stress, or it could be a good reason, like you're inducing stress for fruiting or something like that. The first place that you see those signals is in the changes in the physiology, and our sensors are picking those up. It's literally like, when you go to your GP, the first thing your GP does is, she doesn't just look at you, right, and say, oh dear, right? The first thing she does is she might take your pulse, right? And that data tells her a lot about your physiology. It's exactly the same here. It's like taking the pulse of the plant, but doing that really fast, remotely, and incredibly cheaply.
Yeah, and what is great is that within the likes of a protected crop environment, a large greenhouse or a vertical farm, you can figuratively turn the dials to create the solutions, or it could be done automatically, because I'm just guessing that all of your software could then be built into the systems there. Whilst those growing outside, if there's an aphid problem or a weather problem, it's so much more difficult to control because of Mother Nature. But within the environments that you're looking to major on, it's going going to make it even more efficient. Okay, the team are saying that we can slot in the BBC article. Is that okay if we play it? Because it'd be great to see that.
Yes, let's do it. Let's do it, man.
Okay, right, here we go. 1, 2, 3.
In a month's time, the traditional European harvest will be complete. Currently, farmers are working around the clock to cut corn, with strawberries and raspberries already picked in June and July.
Farming has always embraced the latest technology, from the plough through to tractors and beyond, but it is under pressure. Fuel and fertiliser costs are rising, labour is hard to get, and still consumers and supermarkets are demanding cheaper and cheaper prices.
Added to that, climate change is affecting how our crops grow, when they need to be harvested, and how much water there is available for them.
The global population is expected to hit 10 billion by 2050. That's a lot more mouths to feed.
It's a perfect storm, and things are going to have to change.
We've seen in the past how vertical farming could play an important role in that, but it is still a pretty new technology.
But Laura Goodwin has been to see a new piece of tech that could take vertical farming to the next level.
A warm sunny day like today is a gift for farmers who very much rely on the climates and their own expertise to ensure their plants are healthy and happy. But what if they could control the climate? And what if they found a way that the plants could tell the farmer what they needed?
One agritech company, Gardin, thinks they've worked out how to do exactly this.
Wow, what do we have here?
One of our partner vertical farm facilities where we've installed our sensors.
Wow, look at all this, and it smells incredible. Chilies on this side.
Got chilies here, we have some flowers down here, edible flowers, some strawberries. There's 25 trays high here, growing a number of species, and all of this is being monitored by the garden sensors here, which are mounted on the mobile platform. So our sensors are able to monitor this whole environment, and they move around, and what they're looking at is particular leaves. We're able to use optoelectronics, which is smart physics, to understand how the leaf is performing.
It works by combining the images it collects with machine learning, which has been trained on lots of pictures of plants at various stages of growth. This allows the system to monitor how well the process of photosynthesis is working in each plant, and this tells them how efficiently they're growing.
So we're really talking to the plants, and they're telling us how happy they are, and we're able to then feed that back to growers and able to tell them which crops are performing the best, and then we can understand why that might be with the environment around it.
I love that you're breaking it down to talking to plants, because a lot of people do that in their own greenhouses. This is on a much higher tech level. And explain, why is it so important, particularly in a vertical farm, that you can do that?
The beauty of vertical farming is really that you have this really fine-grained control. And what we want to be able to do with our sensor is to say, this is the current status of your plant. And what you should do is slightly change the variables in the environment to make that plant perform better, which will result in more food.
But it's not just more food. Gardin says they're actually trying to make food better, full stop.
We've all gone and bought very red round tomatoes from the supermarkets, brought them back home, and been thoroughly disappointed when we've had them. The problem today is that the way that we measure the value of food, the quality of food, is wrong. Because, when we look at 2 tomatoes today, the way that people in industry decide which one's a better tomato is by looking at how red it is or how round it is. And absolutely nothing about did it come from a healthy plant or not. But by measuring the health of the plant, you naturally end up with a better tomato, rather than by completing the full food production process and right in the end just looking at the cosmetics.
But working out how to make the best tasting food means a lot of experimenting.
So one of the big projects we've been working on with IGS is around optimizing basil growth. So we all love basil for that kind of Italian pizza flavor. So we're looking at how can you actually control different wavelengths of light to make basil taste even, better and have the tastiest basil you've ever had. You can actually look at those characteristics and say, these particular signals will look like a basil that will taste and smell really strong.
So which one do you think will taste the best, and should we try it?
I think this guy's looking pretty good up here.
Yeah? Right, let's give it a go. Have you had enough basil?
We've eaten a fair amount of basil, yeah.
I'm going to give it a try. It's very flavorful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This one up here has had a lot of far red light.
Okay.
And that's caused it to be very leggy, probably be very watery. Whereas this one down here, you can see there's a much richer colour. And that's will have a very different lighting recipe. And hopefully you should be able to taste the difference.
Yeah.
Too.
We can see the difference. Let me see if I can taste it. Instantly a lot stronger. A much more powerful flavour.
Yeah.
And you could tell that just by looking at them.
Yeah, well, hopefully we can tell that through the garden sensor as well.
In many ways, though, this tech isn't that new.
There's a lot of technology can do something fairly similar, but it takes a lot of that technology and it's not very cost effective. So the beauty of this particular sensor is that it can really help us drive down the cost of the overall sensor loads, focus in on the important aspects, but in a very controlled, very precise way, and most importantly, a very cost effective way.
Bringing together and improving camera technology, integrating machine learning, then applying it to agriculture is certainly an innovative step from Gardin. But vertical farming is still in its relative infancy, and it will be interesting to see whether this will provide enough growth for the company in the near future.
That was brilliant. You must have had a lot of fun doing that with just on a production basis. Was that great to engage with the BBC?
It was actually.
Yeah, it was brilliant.
I think they were so easy to work with. They asked brilliant questions, and I think we got along really well because we don't talk tech, do we? We talk in plain English.
And actually, what you see in the clip is a small amount of what we actually talked about. They came over to our R&D site, and like we talked many times. It was really interesting.
Yeah, well done, and it came across. But let's just ask that question again. What is the benefit of food producers engaging with Gardin? What's the benefit? What's the ROI? What's the return of investment? Fab, you go first, please.
Right, I think it's twofold, right? So first of all, picking up problems early enough allows you to correct the course, so you can prevent pre-gate waste in the farm, especially in vertical farms. It's like a massive problem. Lots and lots of trays of plants going to waste because they're not grown to spec. Secondly, forecasting, right? There might be situations where picking up the stress, there is no solution. You can't do anything about it. But knowing about it ahead of time allows you to do the planning on your contracts with your end clients, right? And that is very valuable to a farmer. So yeah, these two angles I think are the main.
Thank you. Well done, Fab. And Sumanta, where are you? Are you live now in the market? If I was a large greenhouse grower or vertical farm, could I engage with you now? Or
yes,
you
I'll send you yes, Matt. I am going to send you a brochure. I'll send you a brochure in digital and in print. Yes, I'm old-fashioned. I like selling stuff when it's ready. So the product is ready. We are signing contracts with people right now. Actually, got a call today again. Right? Yeah. We're working with vertical farms. We're working with greenhouses. So greenhouses, again, big important market for us. But yes, in a nutshell, our flagship product is ready and we're taking orders.
Okay, and this is where one of the reasons I was impressed with you from when we started our relationship 6 months, 9 months ago, that me being the marketing individual that I was, I could identify where you were going, and I was keen to do that broadcast 6 months, 9 months ago. And you said, no, Max, we're not ready. We're not going to be pushing this out until we've absolutely got everything in place. And I thought that was actually very brave of you, but also just shows the way that you've structured this business. This is not snake oil that you're selling. You created a genuine product, but you wanted to make sure it was robust and road ready, industry ready before you look to bring it out. And market wise, gents, are you looking at just the UK? Are you looking at Europe? Where do you want this to go? Well,
so our focus has been Europe. Well, can we include UK in that? Not really anymore. So UK and Europe. Our focus has been UK and Europe for the last couple of years, including this year. And that's gonna, we're not gonna stop looking at UK and Europe. We see plenty of opportunity in UK and Europe, especially when you start taking greenhouses also into the equation, right? But we are going to expand by geography next year.
Yeah. Okay.
So and at the moment we think that we are. The first geography outside of UK and Europe that we're going to expand into is North America.
Yeah, well done. And in North America, I'm just amazed by the stats of the likes of vertical farming. In 2021, there was $1 billion US of investment into vertical farming. But there was only 150 million in revenue, and I think that's because they've got to put all that investment in to grow. But it comes back to what we were saying at the start of the conversation, that they need the likes of your technology to make sure it works. Don't worry about the marketing. You let the marketeers do that to sell the product, but they need to be able to grow the product in the most efficient basis. And again, that's why they need your tech.
Exactly. So they, like we were saying right at the beginning, they already have that value that's trapped. We help them unlock that value.
Yeah. Well done.
It's a bit like a supercharger in your car. You already have the car, but that supercharger, it really gets the extra performance out of it.
Yeah, and again, I think this is just not discussed enough within vertical farming and protected cropping. The value is trapped, for the reasons that we're talking about, and now there's a solution. So let's just talk about the onboarding, the nuts and bolts of it. If you have a greenhouse grower or vertical farmer, let's just make it in the UK, who's really keen to engage with you, what's the process? How does it physically work? Fab, tell us.
So it's very straightforward, right? We talk to them, try to understand where the value is trapped. If we can help, we'll help them. If we can't, we'll not waste their time. Straightforward. And then it's a matter of what we learned from a quite a wide variety of trials is that we actually go there, meet them in person, understand their facility, understand their operations, see where the sensors need to go, how many they need, how they can be moved around. Really the nitty-gritty, how is the connectivity going to work? How is the power is going to work? Like, the number of items to clear is quite long. And we go through the process, we identify all the bottlenecks, we clear them all. And once we are all ready, deploy the sensors and they're ready to go. From the moment they're installed, they work autonomously, collect the data, spit out the alerts and the warnings and the insights in a user interface that is very straightforward, designed with the grower in mind. So no complicated kind of sciencey words or anything like that.
Excellent.
Displayed in a way that maps into their facility so they understand what the problems are, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I just using that analogy. Do you remember the Blackberries? Who remembers Blackberry phones? And I remember when they first came out, you needed a server in your office to run them, and they were so complicated to use. And then what comes along? Apple phones for idiots. And it sounds like with your system that you know this, that by the sounds of it, the grower, either his PC, laptop, iPad, will be able to control everything and see any issues and dial in the remedy to fix it, to make sure the Ferrari is going down the country lane. Would that be a good description?
Absolutely right. Yes. And so, the user experience is something that's so important in the design of the product. It's like the legs of the chair. This product is like a chair where all those legs are important. There's no one leg that's longer or shorter than the other. So the biology, the experience that the customer is getting, the engineering, these are all the legs. So we've been giving a lot of attention to all of these things.
Yeah. Okay. Just to identify again, because we've seen too many examples of this, of companies coming up in various sectors, and all they offer is this. It's one size fits all. And everything is different. Everyone is different. Exactly. Every business is different. And so you will go in with fresh eyes and see where you deploy your technology to the best effect of that company, whether it be 4 hectares of glass, whether it be 40 hectares of glass. So it's going to be an individual bespoke offering for each client. Would that be correct?
That's absolutely right. That's absolutely right. Individual, bespoke, but again, because we designed it to be so simple, it's about being simple. The sensor is simple to install. The client has to do absolutely nothing to operate it. Everything is done remotely. So, and then as Fab already said, the insights that are presented. We don't send people complicated waterfall graphs and graphs and things like that. We send them very simple insights, alerts in English.
Yeah, well done, because you're doing all the hard work behind the scenes. And just help me on this one. AI, artificial intelligence, it's constantly evolving and it's learning. Presumably, that means that the more clients that you get on board, the more data that you get on board, the more your system learns, the more it's going to be beneficial, the better it's going to become, the better it's going to become for the sector.
Absolutely. And actually what's really interesting is that our clients understand that. They really get it. They really get that the more scale we achieve, the more help we can give them. So our clients actually are very motivated. They tell us, look, we want to deploy your product, because if we deploy your product, your product is going to actually get better, which is good for us.
Yeah, and that's brilliant, because there's always been an issue, especially within UK agriculture, that we can be very parochial, and we don't want other people to see what we're doing. But if we've learned something over the last 2.5 years, I believe it's collaboration. That the more that we can share data, share information, and just avoid all that silo thinking, is going to be beneficial to everyone, especially with everything that's going on economically. If we can grow more produce where it's close to the consumer, whether that be in the UK or Europe or North America, again deploying your tech, that's going to put us in a far better place. So these are really exciting times for your business. Is this but the start of a journey? Where do you want this to go? What's the business going to look like 3, 4, 5 years out? Sumanta, what do you think?
Oh, yes, this is very much just a birth. Just very much just a birth. But we there's we can't talk very much about what our plans are in in the sort of 2-year horizon, because we actually have some very interesting plans for what we're going to do 2 years in. But what we are doing today is very much the first steps to the 2-year plus vision, right?
Yeah.
So, and what we're doing today in itself is a very, very attractive, there's considerable business opportunity just in what we're doing today, but it is part of a longer term vision.
Yeah. If I could just lead the witness, this new direction that you'd be going on when you have the success with the current technology, will all of this fit together?
So I'm trying to think about the best way of answering this without
Bab, he wants to tell us
without the grand reveal. Yes, that's the whole point actually, Max, is that all of this fits together. So, but in a nutshell, we carry on doing what we are doing today for the next 2 years. The end result of that is going to be that the people we're working with today, the growers, the end result is we are going to be able to not just improve their operations, but actually be able to offer them new sales channels.
Yeah. Okay. Because I'm going to compare you guys to Tesla, and just bear with me with this one, because where Tesla's been so inspired is that it has created a product, a car, and then it's created what do they call it? Moats, being the electric charging points that you buy a Tesla, and only you currently as a Tesla owner can use those charging points. And because of all the data that all the Tesla owners are garnering for Tesla HQ, it's just making that product better and better, and there's more charging points, and there's more. So to me, that's the direction that you're going. You've created the tech. You need positive adopters to come and figuratively hold your hands, take your tech on, embrace it, inform you as to where there could be additional add-ons and benefits to make it better. And as you roll out your new technology, that's going to be a benefit to those early adopters. Am I correct?
Yeah, exactly. So, for example, a really good example on that is that is our roadmap for future products or future releases. It's not something that we come up by ourselves, locked in a room. It's something that we say to our early adopters, that if you're an early adopter, you get a seat at the table. So, you get to tell us what our roadmap should look like. And
brilliant.
Therefore, you benefit because we do what's most important to you next.
Yeah. And guys, don't you love this type of business rather than the hugely bureaucratic, prescriptive businesses? It's like dealing with a blinking bank. It's this way or the highway. You look to be very flexible. You know where you're going, but you're nimble enough to change with positive direction from your clients.
What do you think, Fab? You answer that.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, yeah, it is great. Like being lean and flexible, and like being able to get on with the job, and like develop amazing features and tech for growers. We talked a lot about growers, but something I want to say as well is for consumers, right? Maybe some of our listeners are not a grower, they're a consumer, and ultimately everybody wants delicious, fresh food, reliable food grown locally, right? So that's what we're trying to achieve, right?
Yeah, I'm just well done, Fab. I stole some words off your website. Food quality, new standards, affordable, nutritious, and sustainable food for everyone in the galaxy, because our planet needs us. They want to help the planet heal and secure sustainable, nutritious food production for today and future generations. I could go on. You just talking of which, the BBC found you. How do we find you? How do people who want to engage with you, whether that be glasshouse growers, vertical farmers, whether it be the consumer wanting to find out more, how do they find out about you? Tell us, Fab.
Go on, Fab.
Please reach out on LinkedIn, talk to me anytime. I'll respond to all of you. Also, our website, Gardin, just Google it. You can find us online. And then, get in touch. We got a form. You can reach out to Max and he'll pass it on to us, or any member of our team, really. We are very approachable, and we're really passionate about what we do. So I'm sure that each of them will tell you a different angle of the story, of the same story, based on their expertise. So
excellent. And you know, my next question, collaborations. If there's a business out there that might be, I don't know, a glasshouse builder who would love to build in are you interested in having future collaborations, whatever they may look like? Sumanta?
Actually, yes, very, very, very topical. So we are in discussions for collaborations with a lighting, a lighting equipment manufacturer, quite a well-known one. We're in similar discussions with a manufacturer of mobile platforms. So these are the people who make the robotics that moves in and out, because our sensor attaches onto that. And we are in discussions with a very large greenhouse manufacturer. So yes, collaboration is absolutely something that's very important and topical.
Excellent. Gentlemen, so the future's so bright, you've got to wear shades, especially if you engage in your technology. This has been a fascinating journey. As I say, there's sort of this Tesla, Apple feel about you, where you are currently and where you're going to go. I'm sure you've had speed bumps, and I'm sure there'll be speed bumps in the future, but it does definitely look to be a very positive the business that you've created that's going to be a benefit to the sector, to the supply chain, and ultimately to the consumer. So guys, it's great to have you on. We'd love to have you on again in future to see how you're progressing and see how you're getting on, especially in the likes of North America. But Jez, it's been great to have you on, and we wish you all the very best for the future.
Thanks, Max.
Nice to chat.
It's been fun, hasn't it? Thanks a lot, Max.
All right, let's keep in touch. All the best. Bye.
Bye. Bye.